One of the new functions within the developed module for Lightroom 4 is a process known as soft proofing. Now, soft proofing is designed to allow you to print within a colour gamut range for particular printers, because not all printers will be able to print exactly what you can see on the screen, and vice versa. Sometimes on the screen we're not seeing all the true colours that are available. So soft proofing is a way of sort of restricting or controlling the gamut range or the amount of colours that you have in an image, so that when you go to print to a specific printer or output in a particular mode, it will allow you to have those colours seen. So how does it all work? Well, basically you'll find that the soft proofing box is located at the bottom of the toolbar on the develop module, and it's just a little tick box. Now once you tick that box, notice up here our histogram will change. So if we come down and tick it, and straight away up here we now have what we call soft proofing. Now at this time, soft proofing will only really let us deal with red, greens and blues. It doesn't really cover all the gamut colours like cyan, magenta, yellow and black. We're really restricted to the RGB colours, as well as what your printers that you have loaded into your computer will deal with in their colour gamut range. So at the moment, if we come down below the histogram that we can see there, we have a create a proof copy, and this is where we can create a virtual copy of the print. Or what you can do is when you first set it up, it'll give you an option that it will automatically create one once you do something to the image. Now when it creates this proof copy, what it actually does is it puts the colour profile, like we have sRGB here, it will automatically put that in the name or in the metadata for that print. And I'll show you what I mean shortly. But if you click here, this is what the options we have at this stage. You have sRGB, Adobe RGB 9098, and then this is a printer I have connected. So I have these printer types of papers or mediums available to me. Now notice when we click from soft proofing on and off, we go from a grey background to a white background. And this white is designed to represent paper, but if you point to it and right click, you can change that if you don't want to work with pure white. You can actually change it to a grey, etc. However, I don't mind the white because the white is representing what the paper looks like and how that image is going to look on the paper. Now moving on, we have a couple of options here that we can choose, what we want to choose. And at the moment, if we were going to send this image to a mini lab, they would mainly deal in sRGB. So that's what you'll find most, like Kmart mini labs, Harvey Norman mini labs, all those type of places. They are basically to create and have a color profile of sRGB because that's what most camera defaults are set at. So it's just designed to be easy. It is a smaller color range. So what we do then is let's choose that one initially and say we're going to send this image we have here to that color range. Now at the top here we have a couple of options. We have one box on the left which is designed for the monitor, and one for your output or to the destination where the paper it's going to be printed to. And as you point to them, you can start to see that things are starting to be highlighted in the image. Now, the thing to be aware of when we're going to a monitor, a lot of the time these areas that you see are blacks and there's no details in those areas at all. And that's what you need to be aware of sometimes when you're soft proofing, that sometimes you want blacks with no detail, other times you want information in there. So for this, there's probably a lot of information that's not really can't be seen on the screen. And if we blow it up, this face is fairly dark in here, but there are things that we could do to fix it up if we wanted to. So be aware, that's what we've got there. On the other side is what we're really concerned with, and if you just click to turn them off, is we want to look at the output. And if we click that on, what we want to do is if we're going to output to the sRGB mode, we want to make sure we get rid of all this information here. We want this to be all clear. Now the thing to look at here, depending on what mode you're printing in, so I go to Adobe RGB 998 and some printers will print in that mode, you'll notice that some of the colors may change, may not. If I go to one of the printer options I have and choose a paper here. Notice that it's all gone, and that paper will print all that information out for me. So depending on the printer, depending on what you are doing, where you're going, you may be able to get away with not having to do anything at all. But sometimes we need to. So let's look at sRGB and have a look here at if we have to go in and try and get rid of all this information. Now, a simple way of doing this is to pull back the saturation, and that will get rid of it. Now, there's a number of ways we can do it, but the most easiest way is you can either use your adjustment brush, drop the saturation back and rub over those areas, but here it's probably not going to work that well. Or you can go straight down to your hue, saturation and luminance. If you click on it, hit saturation, and I'm just going to simply come in here and hit the little toggle switch, come across, and I'm simply going to get on the color here, and I'm just going to simply drag it. And all of a sudden, I'm pulling out the saturation, and all of a sudden, all those dots are gone. So as soon as I do that, notice that down the bottom here, I've had a virtual copy made, and that's one of the things that will do automatically for you. It will go through and create a virtual copy if you have it set up as part of your process, which is quite good because it only makes one copy, and that's the one you adjust. But if you do come down and look at the virtual copy, you'll find that in the name of it, it will have sRGB. And you can see it right down the end there. Last thing on the top line is sRGB. So that's telling us that that's now being saved to print in that mode. So in that color gamut. So if I come back here, close this now, and bring this back to where it is, notice now in sRGB I don't have any of those highlights showing. So I could take this and print it now in a mini lab, and I'm going to get all that information. I'm not going to lose anything. And that's what soft proofing is all about. So it's just really getting in and moving this so that your color gamut range fits the printer profile that you want to work in. And what you'll usually find is it's usually a saturation mode that you would have to do. So you could either come to basics and simply drag the saturation out down the bottom here on basics. Sometimes you can draw a bit of black or whites out if they're a bit over dominant in those areas. But basically it's saturation, or you could come up to the adjustment brush there and simply come down and choose your saturation option and drag it right off like it is on this one at the moment, and come in and do it. Especially if it's only a small area, it could be a nice simple way of coming in and fixing the problem. So soft proofing, it's not very hard. The thing to remember is just to switch on the little toggle at the top, make sure you choose the mode you want to print in, and that will automatically go through and help you fit within the gamut range so your colors can be seen when they're printed.